This is Conspiracies on the Moron Hour, and today we are talking about, are birds really government drones?
Welcome to Conspiracies on the Moron Hour. I am one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm the other one, Zach.
And before we dive into our spoiler-filled discussion, we would like to ask you guys to do us a quick favour and hit that like button if you find this theory intriguing. It really does help us out, and we do appreciate it. And it does help to promote the podcast. And promoting the podcast is what's that?
It is sharing the conspiracy and the moron love. One last thing before we delve into our discussion, we would like to say that this podcast is entirely for educational and comedic purpose, meaning if you guys do believe in this theory or any others we've discussed, don't take it personally, as we're just shedding a little light on a topic to hopefully bring some smiles to people's faces, and therefore nothing we say should be taken as fact unless we say otherwise.
Now that is out of the way, would you like to give us a synopsis on today's conspiracy theory?
Indeed. So, the birds aren't real theory is a conspiracy theory that claims birds are not real animals, but are actually government-issued drones to spy on citizens. The theory states that the US government killed off real birds between 1959 and 1971 using specifically altered B-52 bombers stocked with poison and replaced them with avian-like robots that could be used to surveil Americans. The movement was started by a 20-year-old college student by the name of Peter McIndoe, definitely butchered it, in January of 2017 as a spontaneous joke during a counter-protest at the Women's March in Memphis, Tennessee. He held up a sign that read "Birds aren't real" and improvised a story about how the government had replaced all the birds with drones. These drone birds are said to sit on power lines to recharge and defecate on cars as a tracking method. It even claims that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated because he was against the bird genocide. The movement gained traction on social media and had been used to highlight how easily misinformation can spread. It's also a commentary on the absurdity of some conspiracy theories and the post-truth era we live in. The campaign relies on internet-fueled guerrilla marketing to spread its message, manifesting through real-world posters and Photoshop propaganda tagged with the "Birds aren't real" slogan. The movement serves as a reminder to critically evaluate the information we encounter and the importance of distinguishing between fact and fiction in the digital age.
Interesting, thank you for that, Zach. Now we will dive into the discussion segment.
Indeed, we will.
Bit of a bizarre theory.
First things first, thoughts on the theory so far? Obviously, it's quite a new theory in terms of history. It's only been around for, 7 years now?
I mean, I think the guy created it because of a joke.
Yes, he did indeed, yes.
So, I think I already know where that's going on the tier list later. I think, as per usual, some people probably take that way too seriously.
Oh, of course, like everything.
But yeah, funnily enough, though, about government surveillance and citizenship, I actually found recently that there was a video on TikTok by the name of Bree Thomason,
Okay.
who showcased him using an infrared camera, filming him using his phone.
Yeah.
And to the guy's absolute horror, he found that the photo on the infrared camera, the photo on the phone took various flashes of his face every few seconds.
Isn't that
And
to just
since
track
then,
movement to basically tell if you're looking at your phone screen or not? So basically your phone knows whether or not to just turn itself on,
yeah,
change its brightness and stuff.
I'm coming up to that. But
Oh,
since
right.
then, the video was blown up, and people have been asking whether the government were, in fact, spying on us.
Okay.
But according to a few websites that I've looked into, this was quickly debunked. Because have you noticed that your phone doesn't turn off whenever you use it or go dim?
Oh,
And
yeah.
this is because of the feature called attention aware. And this senses every few seconds if the user is actually looking at their device.
Yeah, so what I said, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Because if they're looking at their device, it's not going to go off or go dim. But
Hmm.
if they're away from their device, then it turns off to save power and battery.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway,
That brings me.
back to birds and drones. What do you what are your initial thoughts on this theory?
I understand. I mean, with the phone stuff as well, I understand that the government could be spying on us. It does make sense
Yeah.
because obviously there's so many people in the world now. It's
Mhm.
like hard to keep track of what everyone's doing. Trying to find criminals too. It's very difficult. But both of those examples, I think, are very outlandish and absurd methods that probably are a bit stupid. Let's face it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also with the birds thing, I mean, shitting on cars as a tracking mechanism
Yeah.
is a bit of a shit one, purely because one, most people wash their car if they've got shit on it. Most people, not all
Yep.
people. Um, and also, people get shat on by birds. I've been shat on by a bird before. What are the government tracking me because I went out for lunch with my work colleagues, and the
I mean,
government have deemed me as
it's
a high
random.
priority target?
Yeah, it's like why would you be a high priority target?
Exactly. Maybe they know how much of a success this podcast will be,
Well,
and they're stopping me before it's too late.
before
Who
we
knows?
expose the truth, yeah.
Exactly.
But
Well,
I've also been looking into some of the legitimate surveillance methods that the government actually have used in the past,
okay. Are any of them
and
birds by curiosity?
none of them is birds. But
Wow. Shock.
this it centers around a man named Edward Snowden, who was an NSA employer back in 2013,
Okay.
but he actually leaked a government program called the PRISM program. And essentially, what this is, it collects online data from companies such as Google, and those companies like Google, they take data from people using data mining,
Oh yeah.
pattern detection algorithms, stuff like that. And the whole idea of it is to identify security threats through filtering data, picking out certain words to identify who is a government threat. But this
Makes sense.
data was actually reported to have been shared to other government bodies such as the CIA, FBI, and even international agencies as well. So
Ooh.
it proves that our data is being tracked and then being much reported to other agencies as well.
I mean,
Pretty much breaking the law.
I actually think that's completely legal because of the terms and conditions. I'm pretty sure in a lot of terms and conditions that people never read, they do just say, "We will sell your data, by," and if you click agree, you are agreeing to it. And most people just don't read it and go, "Yeah, that's fine, whatever."
Yeah, but they do have to abide by things like GDPR.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So if you no longer use like the sites, for example, they have to like wipe your data and they have to make sure that like their system is updated and all that stuff.
yeah. But that's obviously a massive task because bear in mind, Google. So let's take Google for example, right? They've
Yeah.
got so obviously that's a massive thing. That's like the primary search engine for 90% of the population, and the other 10% are using like Yahoo and Bing. What else is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, just other ones. Um, and obviously, how many people are actually? Yeah, like think about how many people probably sack off Google every day to go on like Safari and stuff.
Oh yeah,
And
people
also,
are
it.
totally oblivious.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like if Google didn't delete your data, there's a high likelihood one they haven't, and two, like I think it's such a monumental task for such a massive global thing as well. So trying to
Oh
make
yeah.
sure that say Dave hasn't used it in 6 months, they're probably not going to go
Yeah.
right. Dave hasn't used us in 6 months. We're going to wipe his data. Probably not how it works. They probably would have like an algorithm to do it. But yeah,
But yeah, but like how else are they supposed to track criminals? If they
yeah,
didn't have stuff like that, then it makes like the police, FBI's job significantly harder, doesn't it?
I assume so because they wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to tap into your internet records and look at all the illegal things you've been googling.
I think they have to abide by the law that they can only like track your data and take action if they think you are going to commit a crime. So
I mean,
it
yeah,
becomes a
I
bit
think
hard.
it also depends on some stuff that you search up as well. Because like if I search up, I don't know, how to dispose of a human body, that's probably going to flag something in Google's system to say, why the fuck does he want to know how to dispose of human bodies?
Yeah, but at the same time, though, you could be watching a murder documentary and just trying to fact check the information.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think it all interlinks with how they do it.
I don't think it would be like the first like weird thing that you've searched on Google will be flagged up. They'll probably go deeper into that. There's probably a bit more that goes into like their decision whether or not you
Yeah,
should
yeah,
be
yeah,
targeted or not
yeah,
than just that.
yeah,
But yeah, I understand the point of the conspiracy theory. Like it does make sense with the increasing amount of government surveillance and censorship.
yeah.
Because if you look at it now, like how many CCTV cameras do you see in London? It's like one every two people, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's one every. I think it's one actually every 5 meters.
It
I
it's it's,
think
it's
is the
insane.
maths.
Yeah, yeah,
But
there's something like that.
you've also got to bear in mind, right, that this whole thing was um, kind of a joke, at wasn't it? Because he did it because basically the what's his name, Peter Indo or Indu, I don't know
Yeah,
how to pronounce that. Um, he did it during a joke during a counter protest at the Women's March. So I think
yeah,
they were having a women's march, and then there was a counter protest to basically say stop being idiots. And then he just
yeah.
decided
Pretty
to
much.
go, you know what, fuck it, I'll just be random and put up a birds aren't real sign. And then obviously that gained media attention because people are like, oh, well, this guy's a nutter. He thinks birds aren't real animals. Um, got masses of news coverage. It hit the internet. Obviously, the internet blew it up like it does everything. Um, and I think there are definitely some people, especially in America, that believe this like completely.
I mean, I understand the point if they're going to make like the government are tracking them methods. I could sort of get behind that because like nowadays, if you like go on the M25, there's ANPR cameras as well that like track your number plate. So like your data's being tracked, your number plate. I think your fingerprint gets tracked as well. Like in the Marines, for example, they keep track of all recruits' fingerprints or criminals in prisons. Like all their fingerprints get like scanned and
Oh
tracked
yeah,
and
yeah,
stored in
yeah,
databases.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I could sort of see where they're coming from, but if they were going to make that point for a less absurd method of data collection,
Yeah.
then I could sort of get behind that. But
Yeah,
birds, government drones is a bit weird.
but you've also got to remember that because he started it as a joke,
Yeah,
it's almost blown out of proportion if people do believe it. Because if the guy that's created it said, "Oh, it's just a joke," and people were taking it seriously, that does highlight something's wrong in society. If people are saying, "No, no, what I said was a joke," and people are like, "No,
oh, do you know what that reminds me of the Area 51 raid in 2019,
yeah,
where it's
yeah,"
like it started off with one tweet that was like meant to be a joke and not very serious,
and then it
and
blew up.
then people wanted to raid it,
But then
and then they just
only
end
like
up having
six
like a
people,
big raid.
but only 6 people or something turned up, right?
I think there was like a big rave that was like just off the area, and
Of
then
course
they
there
just
was.
decided to party.
Wow.
I think.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
when
talk
it when
about
it
Area
came out.
50. We'll talk about Area 51 in a future episode at some point.
But yeah,
Um,
I remember that was funny.
yeah, but one of the things that obviously the guy mentioned is obviously it serves as a reminder to evaluate information from the internet to basically say, is it a load of horse shit or is it actual fact? And to be fair, I actually think he's done a good thing.
Making people realise about how much of their data is actually collected and stored.
No, about false information.
Oh yeah, the spread of false information.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
it's.
think the
Mm.
concept behind what he tried to do is good. I just think
Oh yeah,
part of the execution probably isn't the greatest, considering, you know, it's blown massively out of proportion now, and obviously it's such a big thing where people actually believe it to be fact.
yeah.
But
But
also the fact
I
that
wonder.
the birds charging on power lines as well, like what are all of the as well, like
He's got
the
a few
like,
stupid arguments.
one of the arguments I know that birds are government drones. Conspiracy theorists actually believe is have you Dan, have you ever seen a baby bird of any type in real life? Not an
No,
image.
I imagine those baby birds are probably kept in nests.
Exactly, but the theorists claim that because the reason you've never seen a baby bird is because they don't exist. Because obviously the birds are manufactured in a factory, sent out and gone. All right, surveil for the government, please.
Oh, that's just
But
dumb.
also, do you think pigeons, or like, so let's take what's the most common bird?
Pigeons,
Yeah, pigeons are the most common bird in
magpies,
the
yeah.
UK, right? Probably in America as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, any ornithologists, which I think is the
You've
bird
also got
people.
seal.
Yeah, but Dan, there's so many more pigeons than there are seagulls, mate.
I mean, maybe they're creating different species of birds to give the illusion that it's an animal.
Exactly, mate.
That's
But like, you really
probably
think
one of their points that
pigeons,
they made.
the birds that feast on literal crumbs off of the London streets, like that? I've
No,
seen a
but
pigeon eat a bagel before. You think that's a drone?
I also heard this story where a man got pecked to death because of how bald he was.
What?
Apparently, I think it was in like Ripley's Believe It or Not or something. Like a man got pecked to death because the pigeon mistaked him for an egg or something like that.
Okay, that's weird.
I love to find the source, but yeah, I remember reading and that was quite funny.
I've looked into it, right? And
Hmm.
the US Wildlife Service, which is like the main, it's like PETA but localized to the US, basically. I think
Yeah,
estimates that there are some around like 9,000 species of birds found in the United States.
right.
How like, and bear in mind that's only species, and then obviously you've got
Yeah,
subspecies, you've got genuses, uh, all that kind of stuff. Like all of those are drones, yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't.
Oh,
I mean, the conspiracy theorists can argue with me all you want. It doesn't seem logistical to me. Like
but also
pumping out
I
that
also wanted to
many
see.
drones over. So between what was it, 1959 and 1971. So what? That's like 50 years. 50 years to pump out millions of birds.
But like, do you think someone would have caught a bird and dissected it, and that's it,
Exactly.
debunked?
And also, you've
Yeah.
literally got places that serve pigeon, duck. You've got restaurants that serve birds.
Well,
Is the
what
meat
if the government wants
synthetic?
you to believe that?
Do we have synthetic meat now? Is that actually no? That is actually a thing in 2024, isn't it? Probably not in the 1970s. But also you
What
look
if
at
it's
the
the birds that they killed and they're just saving them? You know, like the
yeah.
government lab, and
God
they
knows.
shipping it off to restaurants.
You got to get the meat from somewhere.
It's from the mass killing of birds before they replace them with drones.
Yeah, I guess maybe they've just got a giant freezer of all the bird corpses.
Yeah.
Um, but also like think about technology in not between 1950. So let's say 1971 is the cut-off point, right? For where they. So by then, all birds have been replaced in the US.
Yeah.
Think about the technology in 1971. Bear in mind, 1969 we went to the moon, and that rocket had has less processing power than the modern day phones. Do you
Mhm.
really think they would have condensed drone technology that we have today into a bird?
Well, this goes back to my point made in last episode about government labs that are just secretly placed around the world. I personally think there's probably labs that contain information, scientific experiments, and technology beyond our time, like 100 years beyond our time.
Potentially.
So,
Potentially.
in theory, it could work, but either way, this theory is a load of nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I believe as well. But we won't say what tier we're going to put that in quite just yet. We haven't reached that point in the
I think
episode.
it's obvious.
Yeah, so do I.
Got to maintain suspense. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But also the thing with like all that. So let's take a specific type of bird, shall we? Let's take eagles.
Eagles,
Actually, no,
yes.
not even that. Let's just take any species of bird that is endangered in the US.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna pull up a list. I'm gonna pull up a list of these things. Right? Endangered birds in the US. Let's
Also,
have a look.
ostriches as well in Australia. There's probably people that hunt ostriches and eat them.
I mean, Dan, if you listen to the most
I mean,
recent,
they're technically a bird.
if you listen to the most recent episode, you'll know that people ride them in South Africa. If you haven't,
Hello, yeah.
if you haven't listened
Yeah.
to that episode, go and watch it. It's the most recent
it
one.
out.
Check it out. Let's have a look and see what the most endangered birds in the US are, shall we?
Yeah, go on.
We have threatened with an extinction. So there's 77 bird species in the US that are threatened with extinction.
Oh,
And let's have a look. So, okay, yeah, no, they've all just got ridiculously niche names that no one's ever going to know unless you're an ornithologist.
Unless you're one of those like 70-year-old people that have like binoculars and just bird watch like the entire time.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But, yeah. So, I don't think, like, especially seen as people hunt birds, like, it's just a thing in America. You can just go hunting, can't you? Well, obviously,
I
with
just think
your
the
guns.
whole method of like birds, government drones is very inefficient.
Exactly. Like, you'd
you could-
think...
Someone could easily snatch up a bird and dissect it.
Exactly. And also, there's security. Like, yes, I know, obviously, in very rural areas of the US, there's not going to be as many security cameras, if any. But you'd think they'd use security cameras because they're more reliable than birds. And safer.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, birds also hunt other birds, don't they? Obviously, you've got birds of prey and predatory birds.
I mean, security cameras are stationary. I mean,
Exactly.
It's like you can put so many down, and like you can have cameras now that are small. Like,
Exactly, yeah.
There's been stories of like pop idols, and they've been receiving gifts like teddy bears from their fans, and inside like the eye of the teddy bear, they put like really small cameras in them or
Yeah.
something like that.
Oh, or
And,
maybe,
like, for
Dan.
some pop idols, they have to their management has to like ban like those kind of gifts from
Yeah.
fans.
I mean, maybe, Dan, the birds... Maybe we're reading this all wrong. And birds are still alive. They just have chips. They just got the Neuralink Elon Musk brain chip in their brain and cameras for eyes that, clearly show that they're still alive beings, but they're just being used for surveillance, maybe. Maybe we're reading into it wrong. They're not fully robotic. They're just enhanced with cybernetics.
I feel like if they were to make birds government drones or make drones that are birds, it's a bit pointless today.
Yeah.
Just going back to the CCTV point, I just don't feel like they need to do it.
That, and also...
Maybe back in the 60s, 70s, you could sort of make an argument, but it's a bit futile still.
Yeah. And to your modern point as well, I mean, obviously this is a modern theory in itself. So by 2017, I'd argue most of the human population has a phone, has a wireless camera in their phone, right? Why not just use that instead of a fucking bird? Like, yes, I know birds are more discreet. Not everyone has a phone. Some people, don't have phones, etc. But I feel like it's almost easier to just tap into someone's phone and see what they're doing rather than to have them surveilled by a drone bird.
Everything's online now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going back to your point
So it's
earlier,
like-
they can just track what you search up. So what's the point in watching someone when you can just see what they're doing anyway?
Yeah.
So you know
yeah,
what?
I fully get what you mean. Yeah.
Seeing as I think we're coming to an end of our topics that we can mention.
Pretty much.
We're gonna say whether we think, Dan, it's moronic or not. So what do you think about this theory? Is it moronic? Is it not?
Have a guess what I'm gonna say.
I am going to assume you're going to say
Have a
moronic.
wild guess. You would absolutely be correct in
Yeah.
that assumption.
Um,
This is the most stupid theory that we've ever seen. The whole point of it is a joke.
the reason I'm going for moronic, as you've just said, is the guy that made it up literally said
made it
it's
as
a
a
joke.
joke, yeah. And it's like looking at our other points as well. The digital world is now
It's an open
literally
book.
running the world. Yeah.
The digital world is an
Like,
open book
not someone
that
online.
you just have to learn how to read.
Yeah. And things like CCTV, ANPR is replaced. That well, I say replaced as if it existed, but
Yeah,
it makes the whole idea of government drones kind of futile.
yeah,
And the government even use actual drones
yeah.
to like track people and try and locate you. They use like thermal imaging
Mm,
on the drones when they're hunting someone.
yeah.
So why would they feel the need to use
A
birds
pigeon.
to disguise it?
And also, right, one thing I will say that I like about this theory, and it's not even to
Yeah.
do with the theory, it's about the guy himself. The guy literally said it serves as a reminder to evaluate information to tell whether it's accurate or inaccurate on the internet.
I mean, exactly.
And the premise
also,
behind it is
Yeah.
brilliant.
But it's also a reminder of data collection, because if you look at like what I mentioned earlier with the prison program, it's like your data, vast amounts of it gets tracked,
Yeah,
and you don't
yeah,
even
yeah,
know.
yeah. But I think
Yeah,
the theory itself is stupid, but the thought behind it
So the
is
thought behind it is interesting.
no, the
It's
thought
just a
behind it
good
is
reminder of
is
what you
good.
said.
I like the thought behind it. It's just spiraled out of control now, like so many other
Yeah,
things.
it's a bit bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as always, viewers, we are now going to put it into our tier list.
How to live.
So, as we've both said, moronic, it probably will sit within the bottom three. Or, I mean, let's be honest, it's probably it's definitely going in the bottom two. I think I almost want to put it in nonsense purely because of the fact that the guy said,
Well, of his reminders.
yeah, of his reminders to basically fact check your information, which that almost bumps it up for me. But obviously, we're just talking about the theory. We're not talking about the concept behind it or anything like that. But the theory
Yeah.
itself, I think, belongs in complete waffle.
I fully agree. Add it to the tier list in complete waffle. I think
Indeed.
we're both in agreement here.
Yeah, so there it is. It is in. Now, just for audio listeners, just so you're aware, the bottom three tiers from bottom to middle, I guess, is complete waffle, nonsense, and then unlikely. Obviously, in unlikely, we've had Roswell UFO. Nonsense, we've had the Illuminati. And complete waffle, we've had birds equals government drones. Now, I think you can see a theme with a lot of these conspiracy theories, and if we're
Yeah.
conspiracy theorists or not, judging by the state of the tier list.
We're massive skeptics.
Yeah, we are, yeah. And also, some
pretty
conspiracy
much.
theories are just bloody stupid, to be honest.
I think this is the first totally stupid one. I think the
Yeah.
other two are like they've kind of got some credibility behind them, but
Yeah.
not really.
But,
This one
There
has
are-
no credibility.
Dan, there are many more to come. So, viewers, stay tuned for the next episode of Conspiracies on the Moron Hour, and you will guaranteed to be entertained by the theories we have coming up fairly soon. Now, we're going to end it there, so if you guys have enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you want to see more like this, you can go ahead and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.
Cool, stay tuned, stay moronic, stay theorising. See you later.